Pim pim pim. What's good? What's good, man? It's your boy. It's your boy Yanga. I'm not even gonna be long, man. I'm gonna be honest. I just got off the phone with Unc, and he's like, "Yeah, I want to do a response to the response." He saw the show. Apparently, he was digging the show. Apparently, we got two thumbs up because he wants to respond to the response. So tonight at 8 o'clock. I wish I had the big explosions and all that good shit to make it dramatic. To the Amin Ra Squad, Anka Cat of the Amin Ra Squad, pseudo killers response to the response wants to address the whole issue. It is called Science is Counterintuitive. I'll be posting that a little later. Science is counterintuitive. And if it's anything like the phone conversation was, then it's gonna be pretty good. It's gonna be pretty good. It's gonna be classy though. Hey man, come on. You know the standards, you know the rules. Come over and visit. Let's have a good time. Let's beat up each other's thoughts and ideas. We can even be funny with it, but let's be decent. Let's be decent. Shouts out too, man, to the Vortex for coming over, blessing the channel with his insights and wisdoms. Like I said, man, and I wasn't being funny. Lex can be crude, downright rude sometimes, if that's even where you want to go. But I, you know, I don't know. You can't sleep on the shit he be bringing and the perspective he be bringing it from. I guess, especially for me, I am a spiritual being. You know what I'm saying? So I was feeling the shit. So, like I said, it's gonna be interesting to hear where he has to go. I want to thank everybody, man, too, for falling out, checking it out. Let's talk about what I want to talk about. Let's talk about what I want to talk about. And that is the return of Jim Crow to Mississippi. Have you seen what the state legislators did down there? Good afternoon, Free Spirit. Thanks for following through. Have you seen that? With all the talk of Mississippi, with all the, Jackson's water crisis, I even going to throw out there Snup Nups, Operation Exodus Mississippi, MD's advocating what he's advocating, if he still is a spokesperson for some sort of concept of that, but going back to Mississippi, absolutely disastrous. I almost feel like Jimmy and Tammy Faye Baker for almost advocating some of the shit I advocated, whether it was through silence or actual verbal participation. I'm sorry, I have sinned against you. Man, man. Let me tell you how the ancestors, how your gungun, how your ancestors will work. Call it spooky or not, I've been trying to figure out what direction I want to go. Some things you go back and you listen to yourself. I usually don't do that until I'm at different phases and stages of my life. So finding myself at a different phase and stage of my life and development, I went back and checked out some old shit, and I was like, man, ooh. Some things I absolutely cringed on. You ever have those things make you roll over in your motherfucking sleep? That type of shit I've made, those type of asinine statements, whether out of bravado, some sense of ego, trying to be right, or just plain downright stupidity. Listening back now, after having more or less broadened my horizon, yeah, that type of shit. Ugh, ugly, to say the least. So one of the things was it made me come across this Mississippi, and not just Mississippi. Look at Mississippi being the specific. How these crackers use politics to absolutely swindle all, not just political power, but police powers, really everything to govern your life. See, there's a difference between segregation and separation. That's the first thing we have to understand. So we have to understand when segregation is being pushed and separation is being pushed and navigated for. The segregationist through political manipulation, political wrangling, black folks' belief in this system, not saying I believed in the system, but thinking, oh yeah, the Constitution covers some shit. Bullshit. Jackson, Mississippi is a clear indication that the Constitution don't cover shit. If you're not ready to fight and die for your motherfucking freedom, everything else is a joke. They're about to see it in Jackson, Mississippi, the most densely populated city of black people. All their motherfucking rights taken, complete segregation all over again. You take all the power out of the damn capital. How do you manage to pull that off? You manage to pull that off by blind participation, blind faith. That in itself, patriotism, no matter what we name it and masquerade it as patriotism, all the same. When we're asking black people to advocate and put blind faith into a document that we are not ready to physically reinforce principles, not the motherfucking document, the principles of freedom and justice, then we set ourselves up for disaster like is being shown now. Let me share my screen. Let me not, you know what? I got a little article. Y'all got a little time. Like I said, I'm not going to be long. 8 o'clock tonight. Anka Cat of the Amin Ra Squad, Pseudo Killers, wants to address the redress to our video. He wants to talk about some things that Lex and I rapped about on the video. That'll be 8 o'clock tonight. But until then, let me do this, man. Let me do this. Let me share my screen because I want y'all to see what the fuck is going down and what we almost advocated you guys walking into. If anybody is advocating y'all going back to Mississippi to do any damn thing, is advocating they're basically returning you to slavery at this point. Let's start with this. I'm going to read this article. Mississippi lawmakers seek to return to Jim Crow with separate white system of justice. Let's check this out. Jackson, Mississippi's black community is outraged. The state lawmakers are moving closer to establishing a separate justice system in Jackson for whites and African Americans. According to Mississippi Today, the proposed new land would let the state's white chief the proposed new law would let the state's white chief justice of Mississippi Supreme Court, its white attorney general, and its white state public safety commissioner appoint new judges, prosecutors, public defenders, police officers to run a new district in the city that includes the all city's majority white neighborhoods. Keyword appoint. They're creating a new district on their ass to appoint, not to elect. You talk about advocating this motherfucking place, the Constitution, land of the free, democracy. Bullshit. Bullshit. I'm sorry I have failed you. I hope black folk don't stone me. Y'all forgive me, black folk. Y'all, I know niggas got big rocks ready for Yeager's black ass. Absolute, complete, no democratic process whatsoever here, no regard. They will appoint these people, and appointing these people, such a move would create a separate justice system for whites in areas where whites are statistically the majority. And it would happen without a single vote from any of Jackson's 80% black residents of any of these officials. Move down there if you want to at this point in time. Unless you're ready to, I'm not going to say. But you don't be ready to go down there and hold hands and say kumbaya. It makes me think of apartheid. Jackson Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba said, 3 of the bill's principal backers said on the floor of Mississippi legislature, public safety was the bill's primary goal because of worries about the crime rate in Jackson. Crime and punishment. That's what they're going to use. That's their excuse for saying that we can no longer trust the Negroes to elect people that have their best interests at heart. These 80%, we're going to take their democratic rights. And why can they do this? Because you never had these fucking rights in the first place. It was all illusion of inclusion. You never had these rights in the first place. Anytime somebody got to amend something and add you in something to participate or receive the rewards of that place, you never really belonged. The same way they added you in is the same way they can erase you out, erase you away from it. And we see this happening here. So it says but Newsweek reported that some legal experts said that what Mississippi legislators was trying to do was a way for white conservative politicians to try to hurt the black vote in a way that hadn't occurred since the Jim Crow era. Many Republican lawmakers, I tell y'all about these blind allegiance to these parties and who they calling you for. Just because somebody, may have some values that you think you have, or y'all have some shared same values, even then now I begin to question that. Do we share the same values, or have his values been imposed on me and I'm expressing them? I'm in the matrix. He got me thinking these are my motherfucking shit. I might really have to go back and evaluate that shit. I haven't been seduced, but you have to evaluate that shit at the end of the day, because you can't be asking me to say I share the same values as this person. We have the same thing in line, and you're right here. This party, many Republican lawmakers who voted for the bill, live in the districts being fought over by groups like the American Civil Liberties Union because they make it harder for black people to vote. This is the party that some of us are calling black people to strengthen this party with dues or just label or just the representation that black people actually advocate this type of shit going down. Their whole democratic rights or so-called alleged right. This is like pre-1965. Didn't we fight this shit? Didn't we fight this shit? I'm only going to read a little bit more so I can go back. It says, Bill Quigley, retired law professor at Loyola University, New Orleans, and a former lawyer for the NAACP Legal Fund, told Newsweek, "I am shocked by this. I know of no other such legislation in judicial elections or selections in decades. This is not a step backwards. This is a complete Olympic level broad jump backwards to Jim Crow era politics." Mississippi. Quigley said that this kind of system was the rule for decades in the South until the Voting Rights Act back in 1965. That's what I said. They're going back before 65. My man said not a step backwards, an Olympic pole vault jump, and formally prohibited arbitrary rules like poll taxes and literacy tests designed to prevent African Americans from voting. Experts stated that the latest proposal from the Mississippi legislature would likely be unconstitutional because it has a clear racial bias, which is against the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. They said, and I read somewhere about this, they might well throw that out. Mississippi had its own constitution that all but basically said that they could do this shit. And they stated it clearly. We're going to check something else out. Listen, in fact, here it goes. I think they talk about it a little bit in 2020. Let's see. The Voting Rights Act would have helped Jackson in this case, but the U.S. Supreme Court removed many protections offered by that law. The Voting Rights Act don't even protect them. The Supreme Court can't protect them. The Constitution won't protect them. Jackson, Mississippi is fucked. Jackson, Mississippi is fucked. State leaders have recently been very critical of Lumumba's government and the city's liberal leading claims that the latest move is politically motivated. Experts, they mad at him because he wanted to institute. That's what the white folks is mad about. That's why they took it back. They said crime is high, this is crime high. Lumumba was like, man, y'all hold, like they would still hold money from the man. I think he got a settlement from the water people that I think they trying to tie up or something. I'm not aware of all that. I'm going to do the research because we're going to come back and visit. But he was being very liberal. They feel like with their motherfucking money, with that slave money, Shit. Their masters work hard. Their masters got sprained elbow putting them whips to y'all back. It's hard being on that horse that close to the sun, beating down on you niggas. That's hard work. And you trying to get all of that good old white money and give back to the people of Jackson, Mississippi that have 80% black, the most densely populated black place in America. Chokwe Antar Lumumba, the son of Chokwe Lumumba and what's his mother's name? What's his mother's name? Nubia Lumumba. Peace be upon them. This type of radical legacy, this black nationalist legacy, we're going to go into Chokwe Lumumba. We're going to go into a little bit of these key players so that you can see what was absolutely unfolding and why, at the end of the day, complete and total separation is the black land is the only motherfucking solution. Even if I got to help black land develop a solid political infrastructure, because that is the only solution. We find that leaning to these people, allowing them, I don't know the Swahili word, but I got to give my man props for it, allowing them to interject and influence us with foreign ways that are foreign to communalism, foreign to collective growth and movement, upward mobility, and blatantly still oppress us by thinking we fall up under some protection of their law, and we watch it right here being snatched before our very eyes. Let me round this on up. Let me round it on up. It says, in the absence of any evidence that this was done with a racial purpose, people don't tend to do things on racial reasons as much as they used to. And so the courts kind of often will conclude that their hands are tied. The courts are going to say, people don't do that no more. People don't do that no more. And how are they going to say that people don't do that more? Because people like your boy, people like your boy, what's his name? In the governor of Florida with the Critical Race Theory Act, banning history and aspects of history that will teach point number 5 of the Black Panther Party, actually. We want a history that teaches the decadent nature of this society and the black man and black woman's true place in this society. They're trying to erase that from history so they can get away with this type of shit and say that race is not attached to them denying you your motherfucking rights. In fact, the very fact that they're pulling this on Jackson and the reason that they're saying that a city that is largely populated with African people are incapable of choosing their own leadership is one step to saying that it is nationwide and you niggas should be enslaved again. Man, peace to the chat. Trevor, what's good, man? Let me drop the link for a minute. I got a minute. Want to kick it? Anybody want to kick it? Because it's real. Because it's real. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. We're going to kick it in a minute because I want to show this film. I know it's rolling, Martin. I know how people feel about it. I'm still going to drop the link in the chat. Because we are watching a complete motherfucking meltdown, a complete breakdown of a system right before our eyes. Right before our eyes. And I would be foolish to think that I can offer some Band-Aid solution to a sinking ship. My black ass trying to put rags in a hole in the Titanic. This bitch is going down. If we don't first understand that, then we already lost. And those of us that understand that will begin to work together to develop method. Listen, they're segregating you. We fucked around and played with not separating, not even taking it as a possibility in the place we held the most population and start looking to methods to back that. We fucked around and poo-pooed and shoo-shooed. We thought we were afforded some protection in this shit. We thought we was, all right, man, slide through anytime, dear brother. It was for anybody in the chat. Slide through anytime. We thought we was afforded some protection in this shit. And now we're finding out that we're not. Now I'm finding out that we're not. We should right before our very eyes. Let me go into this. Let's go into this little rolling more and let me handle some things because it's crazy. Because it's absolutely crazy. We got the high priestess, power to the dark side, high priestess in here. Thank you for following through, man, blessing me with that energy. If I get seduced to the force, I'm gonna be dark Jedi, first of the fallen. I'm seduced to the dark side, but I don't possess enough faith to be of the Sith, to be fully included, man. But I dark Jedi all day. I'll be first of the fallen Jedi. I dark Jedi. Cause shouts out, man. Y'all onto something. So shouts out, man. Let me listen. Let me. I want y'all to check this. Let's get it.
All right, folks. Mississippi used to elect a number of African Americans statewide to Congress, United States Senate. The white racists were like, oh, hell no. So in 1890, they had a state constitutional convention to change their convention. Literally, they said, this is to keep these niggas from voting. Point blank. That was the racist intent of the meeting. One black person was there, Isaiah T. Montgomery. That fool voted to keep black folks from voting. That's why whenever we have a Republican or somebody black who screws over black people, I call them a modern day Isaiah T. Montgomery. Well, Mississippi over the years, since 1890, has never elected an African American statewide, all dating back to this convention. Well, it was a lawsuit that said this disenfranchised black voters. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, they ruled that, oh no, Mississippi, they've changed the law enough where there's no longer a racist intent. Really? We're going to walk through exactly what this law is and how they use the legal system, the penal system, to penalize black folks. Robert McDuff is an attorney for the Mississippi Center for Justice. He joins us from Jackson, Mississippi. Robert, glad to have you on the show. First and foremost, again, people who don't quite understand how significant this change was, just let folks know again what life was like, what political life was like for black people in the state with the most African Americans out of all states in America.
Oh yeah, and thanks, Roland, for having me on, for shining a light on this case. It was after the Civil War and during the period of Reconstruction, as you pointed out, black people voted for the first time, and they elected a number of black officials, including, as you said, members of Congress, U.S. senators. And in 1890, Mississippi was the first of many southern states to convene in a convention to change the Constitution, to take the vote away from those black people who had attained it in the wake of the Civil War.
And they didn't hide it. They were very deliberate.
It was out front, and they specifically said that's why they were doing it. And they adopted a number of provisions to do this. They had so-called literacy tests, so-called understanding clauses, the poll tax, and in addition, this particular law, which we challenge, which disenfranchised people permanently, is they were convicted of a number of crimes, specific list of crimes that the framers believed were disproportionately committed by black people, so-called black crimes. The crimes, murder and rape weren't in there. Aggravated assault wasn't in there. but it was a bizarre list of crimes that they believed were committed by black people. It was one of the many tools they were trying to use to take the vote away.
And again, black people were elected in Mississippi. Then all of a sudden, 1890, and ever since then, since 1890, not one black person has been elected statewide in Mississippi.
That's right. As you said, it has the highest percentage of black people of any of the 50 states, yet no one has been elected to statewide office, not to governor, not to U.S. Senate, not to lieutenant governor, not to attorney general. It's a real shameful history. And, you know, the literacy taxes, the literacy tests and the poll taxes finally were eliminated with the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and with constitutional decisions from the federal courts. But this particular felon disfranchisement law is still on the books, and we decided it was time for it to go. We filed our challenge, but unfortunately, as you pointed out last week, the full U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit voted 10-7 to uphold the law despite its racist origins and despite the disproportionate impact it's having on black people in Mississippi.
But you had one of those black federal.
There it is. Y'all hear that? You using, yeah. Appreciate you. Trevor, I need you, man. Listen, I mean, it's a co-op, bro. I need you to make sure that you work with me. Come over and work with me sometime, man. Help me get this thing together. Listen, man, how cold is that? How cold is that? And it's all the maneuver, the disenfranchised, using poverty as a weapon, the criminalization of black people. Then going to use that criminalization, use the fact when you slapping them with these felonies, you're so-called taking their rights. That's why I said, man, slavery in effect. Here's your 13th Amendment, then the 14th Amendment. Ensuring enslavement, but you got your freedom. You got your rights, but you don't have your rights, you nigger, you. You got your rights, but you don't have your rights, you nigger, you. Yo, man, I mean, yeah, that's where we're at with it. So we have to be careful that when we talk about finding a better place, there is no, to me, listen, that was concrete evidence. I don't know if the goon slapped me in my head. I was like, give me a sign, oh great universe. Oh God, my Lord, give us this and that's why I'm dark Jedi, because I still call on it, I still get my Charlton Heston on. Oh Lord, give us this thou was assigneth. And I don't know if this was a sign. It doesn't come any plainer, any clearer that you are afforded no rights. You never were meant to be included. You were never included in its inception, in its development, in its upward mobility, nor to share in its reward or its success. That it literally is the matrix to keep you docile. We'll throw you a few trinkets. You'll keep hollering about, you'll be so fascinated with consumer capitalism that you shouldn't care about us ciphering you literally like the Matrix. We'll put a plug in your ass and start to cipher you. We'll put a plug in your whole back of your skull and cipher your energy. And while we're ciphering this energy, this creativity, this brilliant, while you work for our corporations, while you work for our industry, we even put you in the positions of face as so-called legislation and representation. We will snatch it out of you. When we snatch it out of you, then we'll replace it with an image. We'll give you the BMW or whatever the latest. I'm not hip. I have to call my son in here to find out what the latest gadgets are. What makes you cool nowadays? What the car is? These bitches levitating now or what? I don't know. The door swings this way, Dad. It does that. This does that. So let's go back. Let's get back to my man.
Judges who lit into the 10 for the reasoning.
Recordings.
Oh man, right on there.
Hey, it's Dana from StreamYard. I'm so excited to announce that local.
That's right. It's Fifth Circuit Judge James Graves, who's a native of Mississippi, a native of Jackson, Mississippi, and he, as he pointed out, they upheld it despite its racist origins, and they did so by saying, "Oh, well, it was amended in 1950 to remove one of the list of crimes, burglary. It was amended in 1968 to add rape and murder, and we're not challenging those two, but the original list is still in there." And it wasn't exactly like 1950 and 1968 were times of heightened racial awareness in Mississippi. There were, the legislator was trying to keep black people down, trying to either keep them from voting or minimize the vote that had been attained in the Voting Rights Act of 1965 when they amended this law in 1968. So the notion that somehow that cleansed the taint from 1890 is just absurd. And Judge Graves pointed that out in his very vigorous dissenting opinion.
Now, this was not a part of the lawsuit, but again, because I've studied this issue, Mississippi also has this other distinction in there in terms of how you have to win each congressional district. So they put so many barriers into their constitution to ensure somebody black cannot be elected.
Right. Oh yeah, it's absurd. And we actually were able to get rid of one of the provisions of the 1890 Constitution, which said you have to win the majority of the state House of Representative elections, representative districts, to be elected to statewide office. That is now gone. But this felon disfranchisement provision is still there, and it's a shameful legacy. Most of the states have abandoned permanent felon disfranchisement. There's only a handful that still do it. But Mississippi, unfortunately, is fighting the tide of change, and they're holding on to this racist provision from 1890.
Yeah, and this is the whole thing here. I mean, the fact of the matter is, this is a state that still is operating as if Jefferson Davis is the permanent governor of Mississippi.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. There's all kinds of problems. There are problems there, as Roland, but Mississippi certainly has its fair share. And we're, while we're talking about the courts, as you know, the U.S. Supreme Court recently overruled Roe versus Wade, and there's a lot of talk about, how we want to preserve life in Mississippi from the people who outlawed abortion. Yet they refuse to expand Medicare. They refuse to expand Medicaid for women in the first year of pregnancy. It's just all kinds of things that are going on there that really do not reflect well on the state and remind us of the sordid history of the past.
So Fifth Circuit Rule 10-7, what's next? Are y'all going to appeal it to the Supreme Court?
Yeah, we're going to take it to the U.S. Supreme Court. Of course, that's not necessarily a good place to go, but it's the only option we have left, and we are hoping that at the very least, at least a majority of that court, and it may not be easy to find a majority that's willing to do the right thing, but we are certainly going to put it up there and challenge them to come in and tackle this vestige of racial discrimination from the post.
Let's stop there for a minute. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of the things he said. Let's talk about, like he said, first of all, how Mississippi doing their own thing. He said they run in Mississippi like Jefferson Davis still in the office down there. They doing what they, and I don't know if I can press upon you. You're talking a population that is 80% black. 80% black. That is literally, it don't get no more black land than that, or the potential for that to be in America. But what was the holdback? The belief in false promises, the belief in inclusion, the belief that somehow you equated this devil in his system, or somehow they innately became something less than a devil and had your betterment in mind, or they really were going to let you include in this system. And we forgot to fight. It's not that we forgot to fight. I think it became just easier to take a cowardly out, to blind submission. And now they're not going to let you look the other way. They re-implementing damn near Jim Crowism. After they accept legally, they're about to legally implement Jim Crow in Mississippi. And after that, with the whole criminalization process, with this whole crime and punishment piece they're doing, this whole felony shit in Mississippi, slavery is the next step. They're refusing. I told you it goes back to the money. They're refusing Medicare for the masses, or to expand or have a sufficient or decent Medicare program. They're this is even, like they said, for post-pregnancy. They demanding easy women get back to work, or not giving them adequate hospital care, kicking it in a place that's 80% black. I can only imagine the infant mortality rate coming out straight out of the hospital. Give me a minute. Coming straight out of the hospital. It's incredible. It's incredible. And then here's the funny part. When Roland Martin asked him, he said, so, this is felon. Obviously, it's good. The bill has made it past this stage, it's going to the next. Should it pass everything and become a law? What's the next step? He said, Roland Martin said, is Supreme Court the next step? My man, Turtle Looking Cracker, what's that? Bill Nye the Science Guy. I don't know. Am I dating myself? Bill Nye the Science Guy. That's what this dude reminds me of. Bill Nye the Science Guy laughed, yo. Now, he's a white man in America. He can afford to laugh. He can afford to laugh. He's a white man in America. Peace, Angel. So he can afford to laugh. He is automatically covered by the white supremacist energy that blankets America, that America was founded in, that America is covered under, that is the unspoken brotherhood of white Americans, and we subconsciously react to the conditioning of white supremacy, which further entrenches it and empowers it. So he's a white man. He can afford to laugh. That should be frightening to the residents of Jackson, Mississippi, when he laughed and said, ha, ha, yes, but we know how that might go. And then after that, that's your only option. After that, that's your only motherfucking option. And we laughing at a black land. We talking about the shit that can't happen in black land. I should be ashamed. I am ashamed. Here I am, so quick to jump on something that we can do for ourselves, when right here in the land where you thought you had foundation under your feet, it is being shaken. And in fact, this being shaken nationally for black Africans here in America, but it is being stolen, taken, broken, snatched completely from under the residents of Jackson, Mississippi. Make no mistake about it, and it's being done legally. Why, the only other thing they can do is, dare I say, let's go back to the video, man, before I get myself in some motherfucking trouble, because it's ridiculous. Nothing else we can do after that, and good luck. Good luck on finding an unbiased Supreme Court to say that this is unconstitutional. Good luck. Ha ha. And after that, what can we do? That's it. It's a wrap, folks. That's it. You no longer have power. Your capital, your mayor is powerless. Your capital. You're 80% ready. You don't control your police, and you don't control your municipalities. None of that shit. You one big fucking plantation.
It has a racially discriminatory impact, and it's really time for the federal judiciary to dismantle this remaining vestige of racism from 1890.
This is so the point you just made, Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals and U.S. Supreme Court. So for all of these people, all of these white progressives, all of these black folks, all these Latinos and Asians, people who act as if, oh, I can see elections out, the person who wins the presidency gets to appoint federal judges. The Senate, who controls the Senate? They confirm the federal judges. And so if you had more Biden-appointed federal judges that control the Fifth Circuit, it's a good bet the 10-7 ruling would be reversed.
He can't help himself. I'm not even mad at Roland. He can't help himself. He has to champion for it. Right even in the face of agony. You should look someone in Jackson and tell him that same shit you said. They'll punch you in your fat fucking lip, buddy. They would knock your bitch ass out. You go in front. Well, if you'd have voted more people in, police wouldn't be slamming you up. You'd have control of them. They will beat your motherfucking ass. And rightly so. Man, let me let it play, man. Don't get me started. I should have watched this all the way through. This is a bad shit.
In your favor. And if you had a Supreme Court that was far more moderate or more progressive, then you would see a lot of these racist laws being changed.
Well, that's right, Roland. And, the reason we have the Supreme Court that we have is because of this unusual circumstance of Donald Trump, with only 4 years of presidency, one term, got 3 appointments to the Supreme Court. That's unheard of. But it was a result of the hypocrisy of Mitch McConnell and the Senate Republicans by refusing to let President Obama appoint a nominee and refusing to give him a hearing and a vote at the end of his term because they said, oh, well, a new election's coming up. Then when the same thing happened at the end of President Trump's term, and the Democrats were saying, do not fill Justice Ginsburg's seat, let's wait until after the election, the Republicans said no. They just did a complete about face and confirmed Justice Barrett. And so now we have this stacked Supreme Court that is heavily tilted to the right. And it's unfortunate. They're undoing so many precedents, and
that was the trade-off, though. Let me explain to y'all what just happened. At the end of Obama's term, a president gets to appoint them a Supreme Court nominee and this and that, appoint someone to the Supreme Court. President Obama was going out, so they, no, just wait to let's just wait to see who comes in. And then give that power to them. That was the trade-off for giving America a black president. See, they weren't going to give you that too. They'll give you those 4 years, those 8 years. How long did President Obama do? 8 years. They'll give you that for a Supreme Court judge. How long did they do? Like 12 or something? I forget. And they got him in there. And then when Trump, at the end of his, they said, no, he's going to pick swaying the Supreme Court, and that's where the power is. And like you said, now look at all, like my man said, all the presidents, they're rolling backwards. All the presidents, they're rolling backwards, and we still sitting here trying to bail on a sinking ship. You got your bucket, and you still trying to toss water out this motherfucker. Don't we see where it would be advantageous for us to take our brilliance, our economics, our everything, from social, cultural, political understandings, everything, to start building towards our own, to be able to practice self-determination? Now, am I still one who advocates participating at the very least in your local politics to get the fuck on? Yes. Having a dream in it, do I think that, it raises the challenge of where it says, it's a challenge to my man. I have to say, Black Sun, when you say, well, where's a place better than the Constitution? I don't think anyone has to find that anymore, dear brother. I think that right here, America is showing that you don't have to find a place that the Constitution is better. Right here, the Constitution is not working for black Africans at the very least in Jackson. Case in point. There's no way around that. Case in point. And then it gets to the point of where we getting like Malcolm. I'm gonna play that a little later, where shit, house nigga, field nigga. He say, field nigga say we gotta get away from it. House nigga say, where we gonna go? What place better than here? Shit, any place, but field nigga say any place better than here. Any place. This is a travesty taking place. Let me go on and get my man back and let him play.
We're still going to take a shot. I mean, it's worth taking it up there and seeing if we can persuade them to do the right thing in this particular case, because it's clear this remaining vestige of the 1890 Constitution needs to be stripped away.
Indeed. Robert McDuff, we certainly appreciate it. Keep fighting the good fight. These laws must all be challenged. Those people who say, well, hey, we're way past Jim Crow, that's all in the past. This is a perfect example how Jim Crow laws are still impacting Black people today in 2022.
That's right. Thank you for shining the light on this, Roland.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Let's bring my panel, Dr. Julian Malveaux, Dean of the College of Ethnic Studies, California State University, Los Angeles, Dr. Amakongo Debinga, Professorial Lecturer, School of International Service, American University, Renita Shannon, a Georgia State Representative. Glad to have all three of you here. Representative Shannon, I want to start with you. Again, we can go through many of these states and we can show Jim Crow laws that still impact folks today, especially when it comes to voting. You had these white racists who use the legal system, who use the prisons, who use jails to specifically disenfranchise, arresting Black people on trumped up charges on BS, throwing them in jail, and how these laws, and people have accepted these laws as no big deal today without admitting their racist intent.
No, you're absolutely right. Jim Crow is in full effect, not only in Mississippi, but in a lot of southern states where we have a overrepresentation of Black people in the states. As the attorney was talking, I was thinking about how Georgia was doing, and Georgia has not done much better because we've only ever elected 2 Black people statewide in Georgia's history. So CEO Thurman, who's current mayor of DeKalb County, we call him CEO, and then Senator Warnock. That's our second statewide. I mean, I personally think that felony disenfranchisement, whether it be temporary, as most states do, or whether it be permanent, all of it needs to be done away with. Because really, I can tell you this as a lawmaker, the reason that people go to jail is really all down to the opinion of the laws that are made. And so when you look back at certain things like, decades ago, lawmakers would have agreed in unison that.
Right there for a minute. Let's bet, because that's what I'm talking about. When we talking about the criminalization of Black people, the felony disenfranchisement, she called it. You've heard me talk about that before. And this is, like I said, it goes back to, this is what they're using on Jackson, where you had 80% of the people, Black, that can't vote already, can't participate in certain programs already. And then, saying that right there, this little district, these white people appointing judges saying, because you can't get an accuracy, basically. You can't, Jackson is backed up, Jackson, Mississippi is backed up. Basically, they can't govern themselves. They need us to step in. Some of the excuses go from fucking ludicrous to preposterous to just outright insults. You know what I'm saying? On some like, man, did they really just try that? That type of thing. So we go, I'm glad she's talking about Georgia and definitely down here in the South. Definitely down here in the South. When you talk about this felony disenfranchisement, and what that speaks to is just the people who may have gotten a felony and everything, peace and power in y'all, man. People who may have gotten felonies are regulated, I say, to a certain class or a certain level of society, because they can't get jobs, particular jobs, certain jobs, not all jobs. They say you can't get a job, but you are, and this is no knocking at the working class, but man, I'm sure it's tough on single mothers, single fathers, even couples, to be a certain age working at minimum wage or a little better job. Trying to really put together a family. And if both of you are working class and both of you have been regulated, maybe just a high school diploma, because how many of us are couples with college degrees or had the certain opportunities to make in economic class for whatever the fucking reason? Just real life, whatever the reason. Really in a position to provide an opportunity for your children to have generational wealth. If we don't beat them with homework, this is why I, had to shout out again to Dark Side with STEMIA, and my man Uncle Cat with science to a degree, because if we don't have those, if we don't push academic excellence, if we don't push these things, man, really trying to have capital for them in a capitalist society is zero. Zero. You might as well forget about that. And you don't want to push just the whole mentality, get a good job, go off, get a good job, and just be the so-called decent member of society, pay your dues, pay your taxes, participate. Look at Jackson. There's no win in that. It has to be, even if it's called a protracted struggle, that even if we don't see it and our children don't see it, we have to put that seed in them. Mouth is closer to my ears. We have to put that seed in them to want to see it for their children, to want to pass it generational. So that's where that inspires, but that comes from creating opportunities. I don't want to get off on that because that's like I said, that we have to look at ways to begin to combat the criminalization of us as a people. And one of those ways is to lessen temptation, and not even temptation. Some crimes are not just done out of greed and lust. Some crimes are done out of necessity. Some crimes are done out of necessity. Some, and like she's going to go into, some crimes are defined by the oppressor, and is it an election season? Are prisons privatized, and do they need more customers? See, when you privatize a prison, it becomes a business and you need customers. So now a gram, a little nick sack of marijuana gets you 20 years because they need customers. Let's go back. Let's see what she's let's get her back on. We almost done with it. And like I said, I'm not gonna be long. I'm gonna wrap it up in case you wasn't here and didn't catch earlier. My man Ankh reached out to me. Uncle Kata, I'm in Rod Squad, Pseudo Killers. He said, I heard the show. 2 thumbs up. You know what that means? He was like, yo. So he had a rebuttal on the phone. I was like, you access issue coming in. He's 8 o'clock tonight. 8 o'clock tonight. So we're gonna hear what Brother Uncle Kata has to say to come back to it. Boom, be out, jump in the chat, support, spread the news, participate. It's always open. I appreciate everybody that does and is showing love. Let's get back to her so we can keep it rocking. Marijuana, see?
The laws change and people's opinions change. So I personally think that people should always retain their right to vote unless they've literally been convicted of treason.
Yes. The thing here, Julian, is when we look at, again, the history, how we are still being impacted. I think about Virginia when they took the right to vote of those who were in prison. I mean, it was a state official who said way back in the early 1900s, this is to keep the darkies from voting. And every governor kept it. And it was Governor Terry McAuliffe who tried to do an en masse, if you will, give them the right to vote. But they said, no, Governor, you have to sign each individual application. He said, fine. They signed each individual application. And that was a Jim Crow law that was still keeping folks from voting into the 21st century.
Jim Crow laws were extraordinarily effective, and we have to remember these laws were passed not only to keep us from the ballot box, but also to constrain our economic rights. These laws, when people go to prison, vagrancy laws, you could be forced to, we're imprisoned, which means you were working for free for some white person because you didn't have any place to live. So poverty became a crime. Ownership became a crime. There are seveul cases. We look through where economic envy caused somebody to be lynched. There's a case, the I.B. Wells case, where black man.
And I'm really doing this for my brother. You know, for my dear brother Black Son, I caught a little bit of the show, was catching out y'all prison reform. You might, check these things out because all of that's relative. All that's pertinent. All that is really, plays a role in like what you see happening in Jackson, Mississippi outright. And like one lady pointed out the similarities to Jackson to Georgia. So it could, that shit can visit up this way. I'm gonna take it back a little bit. I interrupted the flow. Let me take it back a little bit.
There's another case
talking about this criminalization.
Economic rights. These laws, when people go to prison, vagrancy laws. You could be forced to. We're imprisoned, which means you were working for free for some white person because you didn't have any place to live. So poverty became a crime. Ownership became a crime. There are several cases. We look through where economic envy caused somebody to be lynched. There's a case, the I.B. Wells case, where a black man opened a grocery store to compete with a white man, got lynched. There's another case where a brother had what they said 400 acres of good cotton land in Georgia, good cotton land. A white woman described him to the newspaper as an arrogant Negro, but rich. He went to sell his cottonseed, and a white man got more money than a store owner was going to offer him. He said he would rather put his cottonseed in the Dam River, term he used, Dam River, than to sell it at a discount. He was lynched because he was arrested because he used the word damn. Cursing at a white person was against the law. And when they said, okay, your bail is $15, this brother had so much money, he just reached in his pocket and said, here. But he never made it home because they lynched him and let his body hang, for a long time. So these Jim Crow laws were meant to continue enslavement by any means necessary. And so for these people in Mississippi to have the nerve to say this law passed, in the 19th century, nothing is wrong with the law because they fixed it a little bit. That just tells you, again, I hate to say this every time I come on the program rolling when we talk about Mississippi, but in the words of Nina Simone, Mississippi, goddamn.
We can and
Mississippi, goddamn.
That was literally created by the real estate industry of Macongo. It's still with us today. And so whenever these white folks, y'all playing the race card, that stuff, slavery's long gone, Jim Crow's long gone. No, it's not. The residue still exists. It is still present in so many systems in America.
You're telling the truth, man. When you talk about these white folks, I'm looking at the article you sent to us, and whoever the guy's name was back in 1890 was talking about, yeah, we're going to have these laws, even if it's going to affect some white people as well. That was that Southern strategy still playing in effect way back then, right before it was actually recorded in 1980 or so. But here's the thing, white folks in Mississippi, how long are you going to keep playing this game to hurt more black people and not really care if a couple of white people get hurt? This is U.S. News and World Report. Mississippi, number 50 in healthcare, education 43, economy 49, infrastructure 48, opportunity 44, fiscal stability 41. How's it working for you white folks in Mississippi? Energy trying to keep black people from being able to be their best, that the entire country, the entire state is suffering right now. So when you look at these laws, what Joe Madison calls James Crow Esquire, we see that they are in full effect. And right now in 2022, these guys are going to still do whatever possible to keep black people down, no matter how much they suffer. We're talking about one of the poorest states in the nation, consistently, Roland. It hasn't nothing changed. It wasn't like up in the 70s and like down in the 90s. It's always been this way. And until these white folks start speaking up and saying we want these rights and equality for everybody and stop feeling good just because they keep the black people down, this state is going to continue to be as poor as it is. And I'm really glad you're shining a light on this right now, particularly as we're coming into these elections, because now is the time to really start looking at getting some black leadership statewide there.
Again, folks, this is what we're dealing with. Again, we talk about how Jim Crow still impacts us today in 2022. And yeah, ain't no hope in going to Supreme Court, especially with Clarence Thomas sitting up there with his. All right, folks, back to our roadblock.
Bam, there it is. There it is. Just wanted to share that. Just wanted to share that with you. What do you think? Listen, y'all already know what I think Mississippi need to do. I mean, there's nothing else to do. Mississippi just need to rise up, Mississippi. Rise up, Mississippi. What else is there left to do? Mississippi might as well just secede. At least Jackson. At least Jackson. Seize Jackson. Can I say that? It's a movie. I'm going to say a book I'm writing. A movie I saw called Seize Jackson. I mean, what else is there left to do? You know, what else is there left to do at this particular point? Complete. This is worse. This is why I said, you know me, I have to stand up for, I have to stand on my 10 toes. I have to stand 10 toes down. I think in finding solutions, I don't like hypocrisy. And I clowned Lex and them. Oh, you can't have political participation. What are you going to do in a place with no political participation? I clowned black land for lack of political participation. That was in motherfucking theory. That was play. That was fantasy. This is reality. Tell me about this. So there's nothing anyone can tell me about the greatness of America or the greatness of a constitution when I clown someone in their theory for denying political participation, and it is happening right here, right today, 2023. I couldn't believe. I'm going to do a talk on Jim Crow because if enough of us aren't outraged, then we don't know what Jim Crow is. At any other time, if more now than ever, they're going to need our assistance. Black people are going to have to pull together to support the people in Jackson, Mississippi in all ways, in aid stuff, in relief, not just in political assistance if you're in that type of thing by raising a fuss. But shit, you think they care? Did you hear their rankings? 49 in education, 52 in health. They don't give a fuck. They'll succeed. They don't give a fuck. Brother said, how's it working out for you white people? They don't give a fuck. They the few percent that's living off the misery. All of that misery down there is put on the majority of the black people. They're like, it's working out great for us. Them niggas the ones suffering. Shit, it's just fine. We wish you'd leave us alone. It's absolutely ridiculous. Niggas should have been up. And I'm not going to say because there again, I have to go into some teaching. That's what the Republic of New Africa is. I erroneously said Jackson was the headquarters. I think it's Hinds County. Right out, around the Jackson area. But all of these are densely populated with black people, and this is happening. It's unbelievable. It's fucking fantastic. Right here, and this is not a third world country. We're not talking Bolivia, Uruguay, some shit like that. We're not talking a third world South American country. Some little despot ruler somewhere. You're talking right here in what's supposed to be the land of the free, the home of the brave, which we know to be the seat, the cornerstone of imperialism. But we had gotten so comfortable with them visiting their imperialism upon other African children, Africans throughout the diaspora, and we had become so comfortable and removed from that connectedness with our brothers and sisters and from their pain and suffrage that it has come home to visit, like Malcolm said of the Kennedys, that chickens have come home to roost. Lord have mercy, the colonizer has returned home. What a mighty day. What a mighty day. And the colonizer has returned home and right in our face blatantly is enacting racist laws and going back to their 1890 Constitution, where they clearly said we have to create bias laws to keep the niggers from getting voting power. Let me bring my man up and Yame up for a minute when we hang out for what's good, brother?
Peace, peace. I ain't gonna keep you long. I was just saying, good show.
Man, thank you, man. I'm glad you came up, man. I'm definitely glad you came up. Glad you enjoyed it, man. Can you believe? You call some of it, man? Give me your take on it. Talk to me, brother.
Well, I mean, I've been to Jackson plenty times. Like
Uh-huh.
when I lived in New Orleans, just drive straight up 55, and it's black on black city.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the only place. I mean, you can look at it, the takeover of New Orleans and how we lost that city.
Yeah. What is it? Is it similar? I mean, did they lose? What do you mean? What do you mean? Because like what I'm reading
Well,
here, they're about the Jacksons about to lose all basically everything, all their power. They're about to give power to the state police to go into Jackson, not to say the Capitol Police extend their powers to go into Jackson, police and powers. They're going to control Jackson's everything. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not being democratic. They're going to appoint good old boy white folks and redistrict a certain area where white folks are the majority. So not only are they going to be biased in their laws and shit, they're going to sap the resources for their plantations.
yeah, yeah.
Mm,
That's what they did in New Orleans too after Katrina.
damn.
And
Run it
it's
down.
not really,
Share it with
it's
us.
not talked about. What's
Yeah.
that?
Share it with us. What did they run down the Katrina
Well,
thing? The
well,
similarities.
when Katrina hit, the disaster there, they told us to stay and rebuild,
Mm-hmm.
and I was a contractor at the time, and they said you guys get first dibs on all contracts, and I mean billions was getting ready to pour to New Orleans, and we were supposed to
Mm-hmm.
get first dibs. One of the contracts I won was like a $400,000 contract. That would have set me square with the
Wow.
big boys.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I didn't have much overhead. I just had to go into the projects and rip out all the electrical wiring, remove the transformers out according to the EPA.
Mm-hmm.
So I was getting ready to get laced. Next week I lose the contract over a technicality. They didn't even tell me what I did wrong.
Mm.
They said they found errors in the contract, and some big multi-million-dollar corporation out of California got that contract.
Swindled you.
Yeah, that- and it
Straight
was it
swindled
was
you.
it was rampant all over New Orleans. And so you saw white money just started to pour back in, and we just lost our power. That was a black city. Remember, Mayor Nagin called it Chocolate City,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Didn't they charge him with some shit?
yeah, yeah, he probably
Yeah.
out now, but he did 10 years. He
Mm-hmm.
did 10 years, and he was a part of those deals with these big corporations. But they set him up. I mean, he didn't have to take it, but they set him up. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
if the mayor give you a contract, um, there was a kickback, and so he got some kickbacks, like going to Hawaii and stuff like that, and they got
Mm-hmm.
him. Not
Mm-hmm.
only that, we had the most, we had the in Congress, we had a very powerful congressman that lived in New Orleans, William Jefferson. He was
Mm-hmm.
the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee.
Okay.
Very powerful position. They threw him in jail, threw his whole family in jail for taking a
Damn.
kickback. The city council, I think 80% of the city council got charged.
I think I remember that scandal. I think I
Yeah,
remember that scandal, man. Wasn't a good look for us either, boy.
it wasn't a good look
Wasn't
at all.
it wasn't a good
After
look
he
for us.
called it
But they
Chocolate City,
exactly. Damn, but they
so
always get us like that.
they always get us. They always get us. But
Yeah.
I just want to bring this up. If we were such constitutionalists, I'm talking white, black, Hispanic, or whatever, we would look at the situation in Jackson City, in Jackson, and say, American citizens, their rights as
Mm,
citizens have been violated. We
mm,
need to shut this country down right now.
mm.
But because they're black and at the lower end, we ignore it.
Wow.
And that's what I mean by this Constitution takes a back seat to the ideology of white supremacy. Could you imagine if that was white people in that situation? Middle
Right. With,
class white people.
right. Right. With black people voting the district and taking all their voting power. Yeah, we'd see another January the 6th.
Yeah.
We would see another. They don't take kindly to their perceived rights. I mean, they got upset at a democratic process, elections.
Right.
Could you imagine
Right.
them being told they didn't have the right to vote? But you made an interesting point, man. You got to reiterate. You, my man, said, if where are the constitutionalists? That is a good cry. Where are the constitutionalists?
Right.
If the Constitution is ensuring and fighting for everybody's rights under these lands, where the constitutionalists crying that some people's democratic rights have been absolutely stolen, absolutely taken. I mean, it's unbelievable that in this day and time that you wouldn't think shit like this still happens. You know, that's what I mean, that they've waited long enough and have dumbed down the history process sufficient enough for us to really accept this shit. I should have known it when my son one day came home and told me he learned about slavery in school. I said, "What they teach you, son?" I said, "We worked all day for free." I should have known then. I should have known it. You know, I should have known where we were going. See, when you can begin to whitewash and dumb shit down and all of that shit, you begin to forget how far you fought and what the fight was actually for, then when you forget that, they can disrail you. You know, our fight has always been for our right to be free. You know,
Right.
not to be included, but to be motherfucking free. So if that was a springboard to our freedom, then it was a springboard. It's almost like what y'all say about religion. If that time to use that particular springboard is up, then it's time to move on. And clearly we're seeing that not only is that time up, the white man is tired of black folk using that as a springboard, and that's taking it from them. Clear evidence, Jackson, Mississippi, man. We should be up. If you're not up in arms, black folk, you should be alarmed. You should only be prepared for two things at this point. Either trying to change that shit by participating, and you see where that got, or preparing to completely get the fuck on. That's it. I'm gonna go buy me some batteries and some flashlights today. We on our way to Walmart.
You
Hey, we on our way to Walmart. Shit, we out of here. Shit. It's real.
But there's a third option.
What's that? Please tell me.
You could take your family and move to the suburbs and be nice and safe and comfortable.
Wait, yeah, that is an option. Be a sheep ready for slaughter. Be a sheep ready for slaughter. You can go there, wait for your rights to be usurped. Like I said, if you're not fighting, then you need to be getting ready to go prepare, inoculating yourself for a bigger fight, separating yourself from the time when your fight comes. If you don't take this, like right now, if you're a constitutionalist, if you're a patriot of America, if you're a black American, you should be motherfucking fighting. Ain't no way around it.
Right. Ain't no way around it.
Ain't no way around it. You should be fighting. But if you a separatist, if you start black nationalists, like I ain't finna get in politics, I've been knowing this shit was coming, then you should pat yourself on the wrist, say shame on you for stop preparing, and get back to your motherfucking beans and bullets. Get back to the program. If you took a break from the program, it's okay. Get back on the goddamn program though. Because Jackson is an indication that this bitch is about to collapse.
Right. And the message, the ballot or the bullet, that's what he was stipulating. That's what he was pointing out.
Yeah.
That okay, we're gonna do this ballot thing, but so far it's just been a show. And what he kept saying the youth ain't gonna take this no more. It's a new generation coming.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not gonna put up with it no more. And that was the Black Panthers.
Yeah.
He didn't foresee how they was gonna take them out and coddle us with affirmative action. 10 to 20% of us get to go to white schools,
Mm-hmm.
but we've been alienated as a whole for a long time now. The ghetto, we call it the ghetto, the hood. Those
Mm-hmm.
are those are um, uh, what they call the Indian. What they
Reservation.
put the it's a black reservation.
Yeah. Yeah.
The inner cities is just basically a
Like you
black
say,
reservation.
ghetto is accurate. Like ghettos in World War II and Warsaw and shit that they did to the Germans. I mean the Jews. I think that's where that word ghetto comes from. But yeah,
Yeah,
ghetto is accurate too. Yeah.
yeah. So we've been living with it for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and now with the economy the way that it is, there's no more these handouts. So they got to cut the services off, or the whole country will suffer. So the services that these inner cities was living off of, they're not going to be there no more.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're gonna, like you say, we're gonna see more and more Jackson. And I hate to be negative because I believe in our people. I believe our people works hard.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we're gonna pull ourselves out. But I'm just being real that that
Mm-hmm.
these are dire times in the inner cities.
Absolutely. Lex said we need to stop all this bullshit and get our credit together. They can call us Mister. They'll call you Sir. Once they call you Sir, it don't matter you wear that lump on your head. They beat your ass, but as long as you beat your ass with a Sir involved, you're pretty good. Now, yeah, man. Now, Lex, you see what's going down. It's crazy, but it's Go ahead, and yeah, man. Yeah.
No, no, that's all I had. I was just man, I was worried about you at first, yeah.
I ain't fucking with you, brother. Shit, that is funny. That
Yeah,
is
but this
funny.
this was a good show. Man, I wish MD could come on there because
I sent the invite out, man. Maybe I did it at the wrong time. Maybe we can coordinate something. That's
yeah,
who yeah, that's who I wanted to really come on and get his
right,
take on it.
right. Because my question would be to him. They're pretty much telling you F you and your reparation.
Mm,
So what would be the next move?
mm, mm.
What would be your next move?
Yeah. Good question. Well, listen, he know the deal, man. It's always open. He can, come over here, rock out. That would be a good thing. MD, if you catch this late or whatever, man, you and Son are always welcome over here, man. Y'all can jump up on the panel. You know how we do, and you know how we rock. That's all I'm saying. Same rules as like I was trying to establish over here. Over here, man, come in and kick it around. That's a great question, though. What's next? What's the next? I mean, this is shots fired. Like I played in the video. Uh, like the white boy had said, we're gonna take it to the Supreme Court, but good luck on that. Good luck on that.
Right.
I mean, even he had to laugh at how really ludicrous that was, at how really just silly that was. But those are the procedures. That's what you do, knowing that you're gonna lose. And then when Roland Martin asked him, this is what wasn't missed on me. When Roland Martin asked him, what's the next step after that? He was like, nothing we can do after that. I mean, so what? Like, I mean, really, what? What do you do with Jackson? So they usurp the mayor's power. They usurp the policing power of a predominantly black police force. They begin to control the process of taxation and shit. In there. Because when they control the policy, when they started pointing and taking your democratic rights, like you said, and then they do the process of criminalization, felony disfranchisement, and they control the court systems, And like they were talking about free labor, I think Sunday even talked about that earlier on their show today. Free labor. They gonna build Jackson. They gonna build Jackson, Mississippi up all right. They gonna build that
Right.
bitch up. Shit. But at what cost?
At what cost?
At what cost, man? Yeah, I'm calling all you black patriots, all you good, black Americans. You guys should probably be fighting right about now. We should be, all of us as black people, though. Fuck the tribalism, fuck the division at this point. All of us as black
Right.
people should be concerned. All of us as black people should be concerned. Whatever side of the coin you fall on, because at the end of the day, we're all children of Africa. So not just are human beings and black human beings, melanated human beings being oppressed, they're right here in America. This is happening right here.
Right. Right.
This could be a test study. This could be coming to a city near you. Coming to a city near you. I know they're already redistricting in Atlanta and been trying to
Right.
steal. Yeah.
Detroit.
Detroit too. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's on the move. It's nothing new. It's just very noticeable because Mississippi being Mississippi, they just like fuck it. They not trying to hide it. Yeah.
Right. Right. Right.
Shit. This Mississippi, we know our niggers, and so they not trying to hide it. So they like fuck it. But that is really a microcosm of a macrocosm. It's really just it's a sampler. It's like when you walk through when I be seeing y'all walk through the mall, them Chinese people giving y'all samples. Want that sample?
Right. 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 And where is the Congressional Black Caucus?
Man, great. Man, we need to listen. We're going to have to come back and do this show because I'm going to get off for a minute. Lex, I don't know if you heard earlier that Amani, I'm trying to read the chat too, fellas. That ANCACAP wants to do. So he's coming back tonight, 8 o'clock. He heard the show. Few things he wanted to say. Hey, I invited him. I'm like, okay. And I appreciate you. Like I said, man, I appreciate you falling through, blessing me. Then somebody gave me a compliment, man. I hope you don't take this as this. So somebody said Lex was very well behaved. I was like, you must be known for getting rowdy, boy. You be getting rowdy out there, man. I'm gonna have to go back and watch some of your old fucking shows, man. I'm gonna have to watch you, my guy. So yeah, he wants to come back. Check us out at 8. We're gonna be doing that thing. And like I said, what? I'm glad that I was just reminded.
Sound like you break it up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was breaking up, man. Breaking up.
All right. All right, peace. I'm gonna head off, Yanga.
Okay. And
I'll check you out tonight.
Check y'all out tonight.
Yeah.
All right. Peace, man. I appreciate all you guys again.
Peace.
I appreciate all you guys falling through. Inyame, Blackologist falling through. Shout out to the dark side. Okay. My man Aaron in the debate. So yeah, shouts out to you guys for falling through. Again, 8 o'clock to 8:30ish tonight. Check out the show, Fall Through. And we'll see you there, man. Say peace. Oh, I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna check it out, Lex.